Lucky 7, aged 14-year-old bourbon. Let's see how lucky we are. Here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. I'm Eric on the bar for today. Lucky 7 Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, the Proprietor, single barrel, 14 years old. As always, here on the channel, no taste finish review of this bourbon is coming your way. I'll tell you, share my final thoughts, give you a final score, tell you a bit about the value, and leave you with a malt musing. But first, before we get into any of that, take a second. If you haven't, I'd love to have you hit that subscribe button. If you don't want to miss bourbon reviews, scotch reviews, and everything in between, this is the place to be. Also, make sure you get those notifications for my periodic live streams here on YouTube. Okay, so Lucky 7, a brand that's been showing up the last couple of years or so here in a very crowded bourbon field in 2023. This one in particular, it's had a couple different ages, 6 and a 12, and this is the 14-year-old version of their Proprietor. The tale of the tape here on this Lucky 7 is as follows. This is, of course, a Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey at 14 years old. Straight meaning it is aged for 2 or more years. This is particularly barrel number 47. I don't know if that's the same as batch 47, but I think it is. This one in particular coming in at 118.8 proof or 59.4% ABV. So sounds like a cask strength to me. We know it's natural color because it is illegal to put any type of colorant in bourbon. And as far as non-chill filtration goes, it doesn't say anything. So we'll just go ahead and assume that they've chill filtered it. A lot of bourbons do not mention this, but there are a few out there that'll say non-chill filtered on them. So since it ain't on the bottle, we're just going to assume that it is. Okay, so a little bit more about this. You know, they, from what I understand, are sourcing their stuff. It doesn't say where they're sourcing it from. Very likely could be MGP, which is where a lot of newer bottlers source from. But they are being bottled by the folks down at Bardstown Bourbon Company in Bardstown, Kentucky. So they got a little bit of info about that here on the back. But other than that, here is a look at the presentation again, kind of this old Las Vegas style of lettering, and you know, they're kind of going for this, I don't know, casino movie type thing with the admit one ticket thing on here. So okay, it does say limited showings, and it says curators of fine spirits, whatever all of that means. It does kind of have this movie vibe on the front. All right, so we can assume maybe that these are all put out in limited barrel quantities. I've had this resting in the glass because I think for a 14-year-old whiskey, we will do it its justice by making sure that it is getting all of the time to open up that it deserves. I got a nice new Riff taster here. Look at that color, folks. Very nice. Let's check it out. On the nose. Wow, very sweet. This is very sweet. I pick up a lot of kind of the creme brulee, butterscotch, toffee type thing. Of course, vanilla hidden in there. Boy, even at that proof, though, you don't even get a hint of alcohol. Maybe a little bite. For a seasoned bourbon drinker, though, this is definitely palatable neat. Little hints of cinnamon, some light apple-y, almost, I don't know, maybe slight berry fruit notes. The nose of this is not giving me a sense that this is a high rye mash bill. They do not, of course, say what the mash bill is on here, unfortunately, but I'm getting the sense this is a high corn mash bill, or maybe even has some wheat in it. Boy, there is this nice, though, like it's almost just like a bit fresh baked powdered sugar topped cookies, sugar cookie kind of thing. Got a little bit of that doughiness. I like it. Ooh-wee. Boy, that sounds good. Let's give it a taste. Cheers, y'all. Proprietor, 14 years old. Arrives sweet and a little bit shy. Viscosity is kind of medium. This isn't a huge, heavy, thick whiskey. It's got a little bit of an elegance to it. But boy, as it develops, that 14 years of age starting to show itself, and that comes in the form of a dark chocolate oaky notes, that charred oak, giving this a bit of a dryness on the palate, but that sweetness is really, really married well with it. More fruit notes coming in, brown sugar, as well as maybe some roasted coffee. Finish, just a slight tick of heat, medium long, and you're getting these nice swells of espresso, roasted almond, mustiness, kind of vanilla, whipped vanilla cream kind of thing. Maybe even a little bit of lemon. Dark chocolate, hints of cinnamon, hits of maybe even a bit of allspice. Wow. Let me do one more neat sip here. Yeah, that transition from sweet and oily and kind of a medium viscosity in general, more not necessarily oily, but rich flavor to this drying palate is done really seamlessly, and I'm quite impressed with how this is landing, considering how dangerous it can sometimes be with bourbon and oakiness, especially at this age. Okay, I'm going to put about 2 teaspoons of water on this, and we will see what else we can get out of this. I mean, the proof alone is enough to maybe be a little generous with the water, but you never want to overdo it too much with older whiskeys, just because they are a bit more fragile and delicate, and you could drown it out easily, but I think that'll be just about right. Okay, let's try this with water on the nose. Still about the same, just a nice kind of slightly dusty oak, the vanilla, that butterscotch, that toffee, the hints of berry fruit in the background, slight tint of what is that? Again, just kind of like a brown sugar glazed confectionaries, like almost like a little bit of a cinnamon roll. Oh, that nice, really nice vanilla note. Just kind of rounding everything off, complementing it. Not dominating the nose at all. Here we go. Wow. The water really elevates the presentation of this. Instead of it being a little bit coy, shy at the beginning, this really just blows up into a full-on rich, intense bourbon experience. I think this ticks up the viscosity and oiliness a bit, tames down just a bit of that drying oak, cinnamon, but it's not overpowering. So much just rich toffee, cocoa creaminess, vanilla, a little bit of fruit in here. Wow, that's nice. I almost want to mention that it could be a little bit of maybe George Dickel. I don't know. It has a slight note of that kind of Tennessee whiskey, Lincoln County process to it, but very subtle. I could very easily be wrong on this. And again, I'm not getting really anything that hints at rye, or at least a high rye for that matter. Maybe just a little bit of spice that could be could be coming from rye, but if anything, this strikes me as a very low rye mash bill, if at all. Okay. Boy, all right. On the let's talk the value. So this is a ultra premium bourbon and priced as such in today's market. I think the MSRP on these is right around that $150, $160 mark. You'll find these in stores if you can, anywhere from around probably 160 to 190. This is not, I would say, an exclusive whiskey, but at least here where I'm in Chicago, I can find them pretty readily now, but I can't imagine that that's always going to be the case. So if this is a bourbon that entices you and that you want, I would buy it sooner rather than later and keep an eye on the shelves for it, just for this 14-year-old. So you are paying a very hefty price. I mean, this is, you know, well above your standard Booker's prices. But with this 14-year age statement, I mean, this is just kind of how it is. I'm going to let this sit at a medium value. And we're going to get into more about where I land on this whiskey now. So let's talk final thoughts. Okay. First and foremost, this is about the high-end limit for my personal palate when it comes to age on bourbons. I tend to find that things age much more than this are usually over oaked. That is not the rule. There are plenty of exceptions, but that is something that I find quite frequently. So I tend to be a little gun shy in buying older bourbons for that reason alone. I am very happy to say that this one, despite the premium price, is really doing everything right. This is better than I expected it to be. And the 14 years, I think, has spent more of its time marrying and harmonizing these flavors than necessarily bringing out too much oakiness. If you are a fan of oakier whiskeys, I still think there's a lot to enjoy here. But this really is not the most complex whiskey I've ever had, but what a just brilliantly designed spirit you're dealing with here. It is smooth. It's creamy. I know, smooth, right? It's true. Just going to use that word. It has a nice viscosity to it. It's just a very relaxed and honestly confident bourbon to me. And I'm really impressed. This is something I would definitely like to get another bottle of for drinking for sure. And we'll likely go out and do that. And I think, honestly, one of the better bourbons I've had in the last year, if not longer. This isn't going to rival your, B-Tax or any of your really high super premium stuff. But boy, for something that's a bit more available, yeah, this is a contender for one of the better bourbons you can get on the market right now, in my opinion. And my score is going to reflect that. I am going to give this a 4.25 out of 5, which I do recommend you go out and buy a bottle, even at this price. This is a bourbon that I think can sit on your shelf as one of your top shelf bourbons if you are somebody who just buys bourbon, a couple different times a year. If you're a big bourbon head, you maybe already have this, but I think you'll probably find this sitting close on your top shelf as well. It is just that good. Really impressive stuff. Can't wait to find out what they do next over at Lucky 7. And I think with what they're releasing here, they're figuring out a way to stand out in a very crowded craft bourbon field. So 4.25 out of 5. Lucky 7 Proprietor batch. This one in particular, batch 47, 14-year-old single barrel. This whiskey does not play. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this and probably pour another. Would love to hear your thoughts below if you've had this before, what your opinion of it was. And with that, I will kick you to your malt musing, and I'll see you next time here on Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. Cheers, friends.